Hello, everyone. Can you hear me? Great. Okay. Welcome to the panel on AI. I just want to go straight into it because we are running a little bit behind time. So I want to introduce our panel. Shahzad Madiev, the Minister for Digital Development, Innovations and Aerospace Industry, appointed Minister in 2022 under President Tokayev's administration, previously held roles in Kazakhstan's tech and innovation sector as well. So clearly an expert, oversees the country's space program and aerospace industry development. Focus areas, of course, being the digital government transformation and e-governance initiatives and building Kazakhstan's domestic tech capacity as well. Positioning Kazakhstan as a regional digital hub between Europe and Asia, balancing those relationships with Russia, China, EU, US in tech cooperation. Is that a fair summary? Brilliant. Then we have, of course, Patrick Vonking, the Vice President for Central and Eastern Europe at Google, the long-serving Google high flyer, I could say, focused on European markets, worked on Google's expansion into emerging European markets, currently oversees Google's operations in Central European Asia, Eastern Europe, and experience in navigating complex regional environments, dealing with varying data sovereignty and security requirements across the region. So well placed for this discussion, I would say. And then Professor Olaf Groth, part-time professor at the Haas School of Business at UC Berkeley, splitting his time as the co-founder of Cambrian AI Research as well, focusing on AI's societal implications. A leading academic in specializing in technology, strategy, and global competitiveness, co-author of The Great Remobilization, looking at technological shifts in the global economy and a smarter operating system for the world. That's a very, very brief summary. You have to read the book. And he's worked as a strategic consultant for many of the Fortune 500 companies here. I would say, to talk about what we're about to talk about here, you have been gifted an extremely experienced panel for what we're going into. So we're just going to go straight into it. I was reminded, actually, of President Tokayev's opening remarks yesterday. He was talking about middle powers should shoulder more responsibility, he said. And I think that was an incredibly affecting thing to say. Another thing that I thought, many things that he said were prescient and incredibly good, was that multiple futures lie ahead. Some good, some bad. And those are the sort of things that I want to see if we can get into today as well. But it's that recognition there that what the journey that we have to go on. So I think we should start, if I may, it's obviously a hard question to ask. But Olaf, if I may start with you about the big picture. We're in 2025. If you have to categorize where we're at right now in this global AI race, what would you say are the defining characteristics of the moment? Are we seeing the emergence of distinct AI development models? How would you categorize it?
Thank you. Thank you very much. First of all, I want to thank Minister Madiev and the government here for hosting me this last week, and especially, of course, with the highlight of this AIF conference. To answer your question directly, we are now moving very very quickly into what we have called the cognitive economy, where every part of your national economy, but also your trade ties, your supply chains, will be more and more diffused and penetrated by cognitive technologies. By that I mean technologies like sensor technology, AI, data science, and modern high-performance compute power. That is literally, in the true sense of the word, these are power tools. They're both economic power tools, they're social power tools, but they're also political power tools. The countries that are leading are very clearly the United States as the #1, and I think so far we can say that still holds, with China catching up very quickly and starting to compete on equal ground. That means from a technology angle, we're dealing with a G2 world with everybody else trailing and trying to partner. However, because we're talking about political power, economic power, the two competing poles here The United States and China are at odds with each other. Geopolitics gets into the mix. Trade restrictions on chips, trade restrictions on data are preventing greater collaboration between the United States and China. That poses discrete challenges for countries like Kazakhstan and Central Asia at large, really any other country, but especially those that are having to maintain a delicate balancing act between both of those cognitive power poles, as it were, in that cognitive G2. So that's where we are right now. Hopefully, we will come to new accords on data sharing, new accords on making chip technology available that will safeguard national interests, but still enable collaboration that middle powers and smaller countries can benefit from and tie into.
Has anything surprised you about this development in the last 2 years? I mean, that you're absolutely right, the categorization, but have you been caught by surprise about the recent development in any
Well,
way?
look, I think the first surprise is, and I think we can probably speak for almost anybody around the globe, the speed with which AI has been developed, by the Googles and OpenAIs and DeepSeeks of this world, certainly Facebook also being in the avant-garde, Microsoft, has taken everybody by surprise. And I would say that I think everybody around the globe is overwhelmed because humans catch up more slowly than technology develops, and certainly that can be said for societal institutions, much less multilateral institutions. I think from within the United States, for the innovation community, it was surprising that we thought we could hold China back from developing successful AI models for very long with export restrictions and executive orders that would prevent the diffusion of AI models, only because the ingenuity and the entrepreneurial speed of China has been known and taken notice of for a long time. So frankly, I was surprised that we were surprised by DeepSeek, and I think people who are like deep into the field probably weren't quite as surprised, right? So those were the surprises at hand right now. We'll have to see how this all plays out.
Okay, Minister, if I may, I'd like to ask. You're right, we should talk about the region itself. It's like from Kazakhstan's vantage point, situated between these, the powers, these AI powers. How would you assess the current state of play? What opportunities do you see for regions such as Kazakhstan?
Thank you. Well, yeah, so we economically, politically, always trying to be multilateral, like trying to work with everyone, having good relationship with everyone. And in terms of technological development and building up the relationship, that's the case as well. So we were working for the last year. We were trying to build a comprehensive AI ecosystem in Kazakhstan. It's an institutional framework by launching the separate government body, working on AI law, working on establishment of the AI Council under the president, and working on some strategical documents to develop AI. Plus, of course, we were working on building the infrastructure which will be available for startup communities, R&D, academia, companies, for them to come up with new AI products, to do the training and inference and so on and so forth. So we were kind of in the middle of that challenge, given this geopolitical kind of rivalry between the West and East, and we also were in a situation we really kind of should be very careful whom we are working with, so that the other side is not accusing of anything to the other one. And so we were trying to move first as the most kind of popular technology, which is NVIDIA, of course. So this we were working on for the whole year. We were working on bringing the supercomputer to Kazakhstan, those NVIDIA chips to Kazakhstan. I personally went to US for the negotiations with USG in DC, like at least 3 times, with DOD, DOC, BIS, and State Department, and so we met, and we were trying to to deliver the message that, look guys, if we are not being able to get this like export license, we will be in a position where we can only import the other technology. So then we were ready to commit. We were ready to commit to certain rules, certain security protocols, certain restrictions in order to bring those technology to Kazakhstan, and we were able to kind of to negotiate the access to that technology. But then there were kind of another challenge where the regulation was keep on changing on that technology. New restrictions are coming up, new rules, and there was one beautiful clause like which is like LPP, the certain quota for an entity for the second group of countries where Kazakhstan belongs to, and we through that LPP clause we were able to bring those chips without any restrictions. So as the president mentioned yesterday, the supercomputer is the NVIDIA chips H200s are in Kazakhstan already. We are working on the launching them in 1.5 months period of time. Sometime in July, we'll be launching this, and that infrastructure will be available for the community, for the startups, for the government, for the other government bodies to launch their products, to train their models, and I believe that should enhance the digital sovereignty in general.
That's fantastic, and just in a month and a half, Patrick, yeah. This is a good time to come in and talk about what you feel are the opportunities for Kazakhstan and the region, and the sort of using AI in order to enhance its leadership in the area.
Yes, good afternoon. It's an honor and pleasure to be here, and it's very impressive to see how Kazakhstan is actually leveraging new technology to innovate, to accelerate, and to play a leading role in the region actually, and taking several industries along. I think on AI, for me, the most important is to see that we already have significant impact and benefit from AI. And let me give you very few examples. Just last year, we added 100 new languages to Google Translate. Anybody here, right now, can use that, right? Anybody around the globe. And we made a commitment to go to over 1,000 languages. And that is possible to AI, and anybody can profit from that. Second example is in science. We have a project called AlphaFold. You might have heard about that. It won a Nobel Prize in chemistry. It took the discovery of 3D structures of proteins from 20,000 to 200 million. Imagine that jump from 20,000 to 200 million. 2 million, it's open source. 2 million researchers around the world can use that for the benefit of humanity and actually make drug discovery. That is all already happening and live. Maybe a third example is really around flood predicting, which is also a topic in Kazakhstan, and early detection of wildfire, which is important in many areas of the world. We just have seen what happens in California. So I think we already see significant benefit of AI that actually benefits vast majority of the population on Earth, is accessible for many to use, and has an impact in the daily life of people. Of course, there is also a huge opportunity for business. There's enough research and studies that with the help of AI, you can accelerate economic growth, GDP, by 2 to 4 percentage points. We also have this study and research here for Central Asia. So that is a big opportunity. And then together, we need to look into responsibility, right? We need to look into responsibility in projects to make sure we spend enough time on the ethical aspects of AI. We launched our AI principles many years ago. So I think we are already seeing the impact, and Kazakhstan is really taking it in a leading role, and I'm sure will benefit a lot from that.
Okay, that's a good point, actually. I think, actually, as you brought up ethical AI, let's go there. So, we talk about ethical AI, and we talk about responsible development as well. But if your competitor, whether that's another nation or another company, isn't playing by the same ethical rules, how do you maintain competitive advantage while staying ethical? Let's start with you, Patrick, on that one.
So again, it starts from the AI principles, and we need some regulation. So our view is very clear that AI is too important not to be regulated, but AI is also too important to be over-regulated. And to find that good balance is something that countries need to do together. And I think we talked about the middle powers in this conference. I think this is a huge opportunity for them to also come up with ways how to do that, with proposals to have an active voice. And I can see, we have heard it yesterday from the president here, we can see that these countries are actually also already embracing that role to find the right balance, how to think and how to act on AI.
Olaf, can I bring you in here?
Yeah, I fully agree with Patrick. Look, regulation is important, and I tell my students, my clients, whoever wants to hear it, that if you don't have smart regulation on AI that at once enables innovation and protects individuals from harm, then you as innovators and entrepreneurs need to make sure that you put it in place yourself for your services and for your products. There is no excuse for not being ethical. Let me say that again. There is no excuse for not being ethical. And in fact, we have shown, there is data to prove this, that innovators, entrepreneurs, managers selling product that safeguards the dignity, the respect vis-a-vis the individual, that includes data ownership, privacy, etc., that create additional trust in consumers, actually see higher profitability in their products, greater customer loyalty. Let us not forget that in order to get to the next higher level of AI and the cognitive economy, we need to set free more data. And you can only obtain more data if you generate more trust, so people give you more. And so we as innovators need to work closely with the government to advocate for that and say, look, without killing innovation, there are ways to do this. You can actually safeguard new product development with multi-stakeholder input without necessarily slowing down development. It's a fallacy to think that being ethical means slowing down. And so entrepreneurs need to own this and work with the government and let them know what smart regulation actually means and how they can jointly create more trust in society toward more data and better AI.
Minister, you'll have heard arguments like that from companies as well. And one of the things you hear, I believe I've even heard Patrick talk about it, where he's like, if you over-regulate, if you make it too hard, they'll just go elsewhere. Yeah. And so one of the things in your position, especially if you want to maintain Kazakhstan's standing in the region for leading AI, is that delicate balancing act. And you have to decide that, whether it's too hard, too soft, is it just right? How do you do that?
Exactly. You really have to balance that, that you avoid any extreme points. I agree with both panelists on that. And so we know that not to end up in a situation where there is a regulation, but there is no AI. And so we are working on AI law right now in Kazakhstan together with the parliament. And but to have a certain framework, not to be very careful, not to overregulate. So there should be a certain framework in terms of at least terminology, which can be used by, healthcare industry, healthcare ministry, in order to allow medtech startups to access providing services to the people. Another aspect which should be covered, in our opinion, in the law are some general ethical standards, principles, trying to kind of provide a safe environment where this technology will be developed, safe environment for people, of course, and but at the same time, you should provide a room for experiments, for the pilot projects, in order to test the waters with new technology and in order to collect data before scaling up the regulation for the whole country. So you really shouldn't lose this opportunity and have a room in the legislation for that.
Thank you. I want to move on. Time's ticking on. I mean, Olaf, I wanted to ask you basically, you know, as your work focuses on technology reshaping economic systems, I mean, at Wired we hear about AI being called you know, bringing in the next productivity revolution. We get that quite a lot. But we're also seeing obviously concerns about job displacement and economic inequality. In fact, actually, I think the CEO of Anthropic talked about that just last week, and the threat to white-collar jobs, for example. How do you see AI reshaping the global economic hierarchy as we sit in a middle power, the global economic hierarchy over the next decade?
It's an excellent question, and one that should be critical and on the forefront of every policymaker's and every CEO's, and frankly, every chief human resource officer's mind. The reshuffling, to answer your question directly, will happen along the lines of who is able to train and equip their employees, their citizens with the right skills, right? Commendations here again to Kazakhstan for mandating AI education below, in high schools, even below college level. I think, you know, that is a great example that should be replicated around the world. Making sure that young people learn how to experiment, how to critique, how to shape, how to own artificial intelligence applications is so critical, so that whatever in life they study, it might not be technical, it might not be STEM education, they have that basic knowledge of AI, because the people that do will outcompete the people that don't.
Really?
So you will lose your job, not necessarily to AI, but you will lose your job to somebody who knows how to work side by side in a symbiotic way with artificial intelligence. Because national institutions tick very slowly, and even some very large corporations tick very slowly, we have to start that development right now. That means that in ministries, in human resource departments, we have to look at each job category and say, look, let's project out a year or 2 or 3, how will this job change? What will be the task division between humans and the AI, and how do I therefore have to upskill my employees or work with universities such as ours to tell us what is needed? And so that is really the path to success. I don't believe in this dystopian vision that we'll all be sitting on the couch in 20 years. But I will say the challenge is still there, putting all of these workers through educational institutions. We need new institutions, new training programs to make sure it stays manageable.
Patrick, let me bring you in here, because we're already seeing Google's tools changing how people work. So let me get your view.
Yes, I would like to build on that, and I think the digital literacy or AI literacy has become more important than ever before. And let me start with the example of Kazakhstan. If I know right, Mr. Minister, you have a program for 1 million people in Kazakhstan to be trained on these tools. Actually, it's not only for schools. I think that is a very big majority of the group, but also students, universities, great collaborations with universities around the globe, but also existing workforce. And that is something that we often see where is not enough investments, because as you said, these tools can already be used in the daily productivity, in the creativity, in the innovation and research and development. And that is something where all of us, right, need to invest. And this morning we had, or this afternoon, we had the pleasure to launch a program here for the public sector together with the minister. So also in the context of responsibility, what we discussed earlier, it's super important that in the public sector everybody understands the tools, what you can do with it, and how to be responsible about the tools, how to find this balance the minister talked about. What I'm amazed, especially in Central Eastern Europe and also in Kazakhstan, is the strong talent of STEM education, which has a tradition here for engineers in engineering, including for the female population. The percentage of females in the STEM education in those professions is higher actually than in Western Europe, and that is actually a competitive advantage. So I'm pretty confident, but we need to invest. And I can tell you, I'm more than 30 years in the industry. 2 years ago, I completely changed my work agenda. I now invest a couple hours a week to learn these new tools. I've been in the industry for a long time, but I need to study, right?
Is that in work hours, or is that outside of work hours?
Yes, I need to study and to practice the new tools, yeah, Notebook LM, and all these amazing tools that actually make our work life more productive and more fun.
Yes, Olaf, sorry.
Yeah, I want to build on what Patrick said. There's something that you said earlier as well, which is that look, we have these wild projections about productivity increases, and so yes, I agree. We all know artificial intelligence is a game changer, foundational technology. It'll pervade every area of life. We know that qualitatively. I want to warn though that we are falling into a very big hype right now, and the hype is not around the technology itself. The hype is around our psychological expectations. We love the shiny new thing.
Yeah.
And it's easy to overproject how quickly we will get to returns on investment and to GDP improvements. So what's really important is pacing, the concept of pacing and time. We need to make sure that our AI experiments, whether they're on a school level or in entrepreneurial organizations or in government, that we have the right experimentation pathways, we monitor them closely, we give them KPIs, we track what kinds of benefits we're getting. That does not mean being rigid or constraining, it just means monitor and understand what benefits you're getting. And then we need to make sure that that's on a good pathway and that we communicate clearly and in the right paced way. Otherwise, we're undershooting the goals, and at some point Wall Street and other markets around the world will say, I'm no longer willing to invest in all of these trillions of dollars for which I'm not seeing the ROI come in.
Absolutely, it is a common theme, isn't it? But we tend to overestimate immediate impact and underestimate long-term impact. Minister, I wanted to ask you, we've already mentioned a couple of the initiatives, and I wonder if we can build on that. Can you share some examples of successful AI initiatives developed by the Kazakh government in the local market, and how these solutions are impacting some key sectors like healthcare, agriculture, and you mentioned public services?
Yeah, we take it very seriously in terms of educating with AI skills various groups of population. So Patrick mentioned already our 1 million program. It's school kids, university students, public sector employees, corporate sector employees, in the general public from the other sectors. So for each of these categories, we are actively developing educational programs. And because first of all, I want to cover the public sector, given that we also, today we signed and launched a good initiative with Google on educating with AI skills, training the public sector employees with those technology skills. In addition to that, this week we launched the courses in the format of snack learning, short video courses with the multiple choice tests in between, with the certification, and which we want to make mandatory for all the public sector employees. So around 30,000 public servants will be covered per year with this program.
30,000 per year?
Yeah, and this is the course just to equip the colleagues with the basic stuff like preparing for presentations, preparing for public speeches, to automate their daily routine, and so on and so forth. So at least this basic knowledge which can help to increase the productivity of their work. Another course that we are launching to the public sector employees is through our national AI platform, which is the low-code, no-code kind of platform where the ministries can build their AI agents. So it's not that the digital ministry will be building for every ministry or every economy sector AI agent. like Ministry of Internal Affairs, Ministry of Foreign Affairs, or Ministry of Defense. No, we provide the training, how to build, how to do the prompt engineering, how to train with the data, how to fine-tune the model. So we give all this training. We give an access to the data sets, to various large language models, including the Kazakh LLM model, and also we give an access to the infrastructure, to the computing power resources, to GPUs. So they're equipped with everything, they got the training, and so they are already developing those AI agents. And as per our estimation, this year and next year, around 50 agents will be available in the public sector for the benefit of public service. And also on the top of that, another part of this, in terms of private sector, there is a vibrant startup community. The innovation ecosystem that the government has built so far provides substantial benefits and conditions for the young entrepreneurs and startups to develop their businesses and tap the global markets. Several of them I would like to mention. For example, the Higgsfield AI startup, which raised 16 million from Menlo Ventures at the valuation of 100+ million, like 20+ Kazakh engineers, the graduates of Kazakh schools. They end of March, they tapped the US market, and they kind of, as per our estimation, they're one of those top 5 companies in terms of text to video generation. So they're really considered with top investors right now for further investments. And the medtech solutions like Cerebra AI, which is the diagnosis of heart strokes, there is Arlam Biotech, the simulation of antibodies development, and so on. Those are the startups which are gaining the momentum on the global markets.
This is really interesting. I love this development in the public sector AI agents particularly. Is there any way that you're going to be looking to monitor how those are used and how effective they are? Because sometimes even small changes and small automations can make a vast difference.
Yeah, surely. Until you use it, you don't really know what's going to happen,
yeah.
Right? But we're doing our best in terms of trying to predict and estimate the effects that this or the other particular agency will be able to reach through the AI agent or chatbot or whatever the product they're working on. So because there should be also, you have to filter out what the project to work on, which shouldn't be touched at all. So we will see. Let's have this data. Let's use them, and we will be kind of assessing ourselves against the plans that we had in the beginning.
Excellent, thank you. I think we should. That's a good way to go and talk actually about sort of the human capital in the AI economy. Really, we've talked already about the AI race between nations, but we're really talking about a race of talent as well, a race for talent as well. There's a global shortage of AI specialists, data science, ML engineers, AI researchers. How is this talent war reshaping global economic power? Does talent mobility sort of favor certain countries and certain regions, Olaf?
Yes, it does. So clearly the United States and China are ahead simply by the way of large numbers. And because everything is built on who had the initial best foundation in terms of internet penetration, data being generated, and frankly, a national economic or academic institutional framework that would crank out the greatest numbers of computer scientists and AI scholars and engineers. And so they're ahead, but that doesn't mean that everybody else shouldn't be tying into this. Now, in the era of geopolitics, as we discussed, That is difficult. We saw some of the latest attempts to limit immigration in the United States. So your question might rightly be, well, how do we collaborate with those kinds of restrictions? However, I remain hopeful that we can train larger and larger numbers of citizens in Central Asia, Kazakhstan in particular, by focusing on these big mega projects that are springing up right now and training people as part of those. So we heard of Stargate in the United States. We heard of Humane in the KSA in Saudi Arabia. Here, the minister and others are building Al-MAI, the Astana AI Hub, et cetera. The Europeans have the new concept of CERN for AI. Every region will develop its own competency center with big money, big compute power, hopefully big data. But there will need to be interconnectivity and exchange, both in terms of talent, data, and global commerce. And so once we figure out what the protocols are for these exchanges, what the terms are in terms of money, but also safeguards to safeguard national security for each of these regions, then we can, I think, create this, this pipeline of talent that could be multi-directional, where we exchange people because we will have protocols that establish trust. And look, we have always done this in human history. We did this during the Cold War, the Americans with the Russians, right? Protocols and safeguards are everything, and we can do this again with digital means today. So I remain optimistic that global talent flow and talent sharing will remain intact medium term.
Excellent. Patrick, if I may bring you in here, what's interesting really is that we're talking just like at the moment like in general skills, general AI skills, but actually that's a number of different areas, you know, skilled technicians, data labelers, AI trainers, ethical specialists, and you know, it's not just one thing, it's many things. I'd love to know your view of the region here, and like, are those skills sort of evenly spread out? Do different countries have different, you know, different concentrations of skills? How do you actually see the region in terms of that? What's the sort of the map really of the skills of the area?
Yes, so I think we can see here a lot of strength. Let me start with something that is not that obvious. It's demographics. A very young population that is supported with massive scale education initiatives around the topic. So definitely that is a huge asset. Second, the speed, how fast it happens here. That is something. You have this conference, then in October you have the next on Digital Bridge, I think it's called. So the speed, how things are progressing. Then proximity, people come together here very easily with a hub and all the things you mentioned. So there is a lot of collaboration between government, academia and private sector. So that is a huge advantage. For me, one of the biggest is really the mindset. The mindset here is to leap, right? And we see that in many Eastern European countries. You are familiar with leapfrogging, but if you remember also the Baltics and Estonia in the 90s, what they have done, they called it Tiger Leap actually. They leaped with the digital transformation and created a lot of unicorns that are global players today, until today.
Yes.
And they aim to do the same with AI. They want to leap again, they want to Tiger Leap or leapfrog again. And we see Kazakhstan and this region doing that. And Kazakhstan is playing a leading role in the region, but taking along the neighboring countries. And that is, all this together can actually be a super leap, right? So I'm very optimistic.
Is that the plan, Minister?
Yeah, so here in this, lots have been covered in terms of human capital development, but I would like to dedicate my several words on the new project of our president, is the International AI Center.
Yes.
The Alem AI, which we plan to launch this year in the territory of this Expo territory, and we want to convert it into exponential cluster. So this territory gonna be under the ministry going forward, and we will develop it as the new tech and innovative ecosystem. So the sphere the ball that you see on the expo territory, this is a 22,000 square meters that will be converted into the International AI Center. The reconstruction is going on right now. It will be 8 floors building. The first floor will be for general public, the space for hackathons, events, AI museum, AI cinema, AI cafe, and so the kids zone with the AI activities. So this is where the people will come, they test AI product, and interactively, immersively will get inspired of AI technology. On the second and third floor, there will be 2 more education that we are bringing, and with the more than 10 IT spheres like robotics, generative AI, music, filmmaking, and 3D modeling. So more than 10 various directions of AI. So it's a second and third floor. About the capacity of 5,000 to 6,000 school kids will be educated there as an extracurricular activity. We'll be sending shuttle buses to schools. We'll be opening up the 2 more boxes in the villages in order to outreach the whole Kazakhstan. It's a second and third floor. For the fourth and fifth floor will be Tomorrow School that we launched last year in Astana Hub, but we piloted with the 100 seats only, and for each batch, 3,500 applications for 100 seats only right now. With the Alem AI, it will be the capacity of 1,000 students. The beauty of that is this is the joint program with Nicolas Sadirac, the famous founder of École Fortitude School. It's a peer-to-peer education, 24/7 open, free of charge, AI, specifically on AI, throughout the which, this 24 months program, throughout the which the groups will finish more than 50 projects together and learn more than 20 programming languages. On the 6th floor, it will be AI campus for startups with all the programs that we brought already to Kazakhstan. We are exclusive partner of Google for Startups acceleration program in the region. We run 5 or 6 batches already, very successful program. Thank you for that, Patrick. And we brought Stanford Healthcare Innovation Hub, StartX, Draper University program, Alchemist B2B Accelerator, and our own homemade accelerator program, AIpreneurs, where the people come as individuals and we give them GPUs, datasets, and they graduate in the groups as a small startups. And on the 7th floor, these are the R&D centers and big tech AI labs and offices. So we have already preliminary confirmations from big tech companies and as well as local ones. And this is where they will collaborate with the startups, with the students. And on the 8th floor, the final floor, there will be AI-driven government, where the collaboration of government, business, and science will take place in order to embed AI into the economy sector. So this is kind of a big funnel starting from the general public, going through the kids, students, startups, big techs, and the best solutions will be embedded into the economy sector. So we want to replicate the successful story of Astana Hub, which appeared in the capital city 6-7 years ago, right now present in the whole Kazakhstan, even goes beyond the Kazakhstan, like Silicon Valley, Saudi Arabia, Singapore, London, and we are opening up in Dubai. So we believe with the opening of the Alem AI, that will be the first and unique project in the world this year.
That's comprehensive. That's unbelievable. Thank you very much. We haven't got long now. Yes, that does deserve a round of applause. So let's sort of go to the final section, really, I suppose. Olaf, if I can turn to you again for your future view, really. If we look ahead to 2035, 10 years from now, much in the same way that President Tokayev said about the scenarios possible, the two paths, the multiple paths possible, could you paint me 2 scenarios, one concerning, one optimistic? Let's end with the optimistic one, for how AI reshapes global economic power. What should we be watching for as early indicators, really, for each, depending on which path we're on?
Oh, I'd be happy to do that. So let me start with the darker future that we all want to stay away from.
Yes.
And that is what I might call pawn in a new great game. Being British, you probably know what I'm referring to, all right? And anybody here who's Kazakh knows as well that the British refer to, Central Asia as the great game in the geopolitical struggle of the last century. We want to avoid that Kazakhstan and Central Asia in general become a pawn in the next big geopolitical game, which is really the cognitive economy around the world, right? And so what that means is in a world of greater geopolitical fragmentation and trade wars, you need to counteract that with better policies, leveraging your own natural resources, your own talent base, partnerships you can strike with the United States and others in order to stay away from that future where you have no agency, where you're going to be whacked around by the great powers that have all the tech power, and you are essentially just a testing ground for technologies. And this is what Kai-Fu Lee called digital colonialism, right? Nobody wants that. And so that's the dark future. The bright future is what one might call, Kazakhstan as, the great new power broker in the global cognitive economy. And that means that Kazakhstan contributes to regional integration around digital via maybe an integrated data market. The Europeans have tried their hands on that, making strides, but imperfect. I think learning from that example and maybe having a Eurasian, Central Asian common data market would be very powerful because small countries can get together and exert much more power and self-determination by doing that, right? So making sure that that happens in that scenario and that you deploy technologies like AI to assets for which Kazakhstan is known around the world. And it's beautiful, the week that I spent here, I was exposed to the space industry and the legacy of the space industry. Kazakhstan is amongst the leading nations in the world on space technology, math and science related to that, engineering, robotics. And so making sure that you take AI, physical AI is what we say, and you deploy it toward that. Natural resources, there is a wealth of critical minerals here. We've talked about oil and gas. Being able to take that to the next level of processing and value add with AI, with data science at the center. And then last but not least, agricultural and life sciences, right? Kazakhstan can feed, a multiple of its 20 million citizens. I believe the numbers are 400 million around the world could be fed with Kazakh agricultural goods. What if you could take that to 1 billion people around the world being fed by Kazakhstan with AI and data science and compute at the center? So that is what you would need to do. The global interconnectivity being a positive agent there, and then also inside out playing more to your competitive advantages, because remember, a good strategy means to be differentiated. You want Silicon Valley and Shenzhen to be coming here and saying, please, please, can we tap into what you are uniquely known for, right? Rather than trying to be like everybody else out there. And I think if we do that, then that power broker future in the cognitive economy is a bright one for Kazakhstan, and we can stay away from the pawn in the new great game.
Excellent. Thank you. Patrick, let me turn to you to the end. Yeah, I agree. Let me turn to the end there as we close up. Minister, I'll finish with you if I may. Patrick, I did actually ask Gemini what would be the hardest, trickiest question I could ask you on this panel. I'm not going to ask you that question. But I will say that obviously you're sitting next to and nearby and in the earshot of very important people for the region and very influential people. So what would be, if you could change, if you could change one thing, or if you could, ask if you could offer one piece of advice to policymakers and citizens and leaders in here on navigating the complexities of the AI race right now, what would it be?
So let me start with where we try to take responsibility as a company before I give advice to others. So I think we need to put, building on what you said, we need to put people in the center of all our AI thinking, right? If we actually manage to help people in their daily lives, if we make a difference on sustainability, for example. That's one of the big hopes, that AI will help us to accelerate technology to make improvements on the sustainability. It's a risk for all of us, right? If we can put AI to work to have this economic impact we talk about, and more people have a solid economic future, that will lead to less, and if we can help AI to improve science and fight diseases, as we discussed earlier with AlphaFold, that will actually lead to less populism, and people will understand the benefits, embrace the benefits, and really invest. And that is maybe the advice you were asking for. I actually, and I said I do it for myself, and we're trying to do it as a company, and I think countries should do it. I still believe that all countries and all companies at the moment are at a starting point, right? This is just the beginning, right? So it really depends on each individual, on each company in each country, how to embrace that and really invest in learning the new tools and putting them to work. And what I love most is to think of what are the biggest problems we should tackle, right? Look for big problems, right? And then think how you could throw AI at it to try to solve them. And we like to say, be bold on that one, be responsible, and be together, right? Do things together, and I can see Kazakhstan doing that already, going into many great partnerships, and that can leverage beyond the size of the country.
Excellent, thank you. Minister, if I can give you the last word. We've had a great deal of progress been made, we've had some great deal of initiatives being started and also ongoing. Where do you want Kazakhstan to be in the global landscape of AI in 2035? What does success look like for you?
So Kazakhstan, being one of those leading countries in the region in terms of digital transformation and building up the robust innovative ecosystem, not only in public services, digital transformation, but also in the spheres like the startup ecosystem, crypto industry development with the provision of kind of certain and good regulatory clarity on that front, but at the same time for AI. So we believe that Kazakhstan currently is playing, and we touched already the topic of middle power, and Kazakhstan is playing kind of a bridge between our region and the say western part of the world. And so we are already kind of feeling responsibility not for our country only, but for the region. So that there is a C5 country, and there is also a C5 plus one. One is the US. Yeah, there is a platform, and so we're trying to unite the region so that no one is left behind. So we believe that. So we want by 2035 and beyond that, we want the leveling up of the at least digital stance, digital transformation, in order to have a broader people, broader opportunities, broader markets, and that the opportunities will be provided by those markets. So in terms of challenges, I know that the geopolitics always will be in place, and the challenges between and rivalry between the countries. So it's important for Kazakhstan to navigate in a way so not to become a collateral damage of all those dynamics.
Thank you so much. I had so many more questions. I'm really annoyed I didn't get to them. But thank you so much indeed, Professor Groth as well, Patrick Vonking from Google as well, and Minister. Thank you so much for your time, and thank you for asking me to panel over this. I've really, really enjoyed it. Thank you to everyone.